852-8933 or email me at markhardercells@gmail.com.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Again, you've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentence for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying it would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no. And I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
Liar! Yeah, man, isn't it great not hearing the crazy French lady anymore? That was Tucker Carlson's nickname for Corinne Jean-Pierre back in the day. Where did she go with her crazy mop hair? Was that hair real? I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'll move on. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. You can tell I'm in the mood to have a fantastic Friday with all of you all. Thanks for joining us here. Chris is out today. He's down, I think, in the Big D or somewhere near Dallas. I know he's in the Lone Star State. He's in Texas land. Chris has talked many times about the fact that he has a lot of family members. His family tree emanates from the Lone Star State, some of it at least. And I think he said I think it was his aunt that is getting an award or something, and they're doing a roast for her, and they're going to have some hijinks and some fun and all that kind of stuff. So that's really fantastic. It's always important to spend time with family and friends. Make sure you do take some time for yourself this weekend and do that. Celebrate this great land. You don't have to only do it on Independence Day. You should do it every single day. And the weekends are a great time to thank God for the blessings we have here in the great United States of America. We got a great show lined up. Oh, in addition to Chris being out, Joey V is out. I'm doing everything all by myself. No, I'm not. Oh, if only. I've got producer Ethan in the studio today. We have 2 Ethans here at the station. So I've declared them young Ethan and old Ethan. So I'm not sure what Ethan Way thinks about that I've named him old Ethan. I'm probably going to get in trouble with HR. But young Ethan is in the studio with me here today. How you doing, Ethan?
Oh, I'm good. I don't get called young as much as I used to now, so I'll take it.
I used to be your age, and it feels like it was not that long ago. My wife says I don't act my age, so I guess that's a good thing. Young at heart is the way to be, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, I love, folks may not be as familiar with you and your pops, but you guys are a big part of what we do here, the Valencia family. Phil and Ethan, I really appreciate you and your dad very much. You guys have made my life easier on so many occasions. You've taken care of me when I go to Jeff City. You're great producers. You're awesome engineers. And I think it's awesome we have you as part of the News Talk STL family. So thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, we do a lot of our work, on the other side of the table, but we like doing it. So we're happy to do it.
You're good at it. You're very good at it. So thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
So Ethan and I are going to make sure that we take care of you on this sultry Friday afternoon. If you are anywhere in the heartland, I'm going to do a little public service announcement. I shouldn't have to say these things, but as we know, sometimes common sense is in short order these days. I'm not commenting on any of you in the audience. Make sure you tell your liberal friends. There we go. That's the way I can do it. Tell your liberal friends it's really hot outside, and they need to take care of their pets and anybody in their lives who might suffer or experience distress from the heat, right? And so, check on the older folks in your life. And you know what? In this kind of heat, You don't have to be that old. Like, I'm not that old. Some of my younger friends think I'm ancient now, but I'm not. My older friends think I'm a pup. It's kind of funny. I'm in that weird age cycle, And so you don't have to be that old to suffer from this heat. I went for a walk the other day. I was like, I got to do some exercise. So I do a lot of stuff on the weekends. I'm very active on the weekends. Weekend warrior. Talk about that all the time. Love to play golf. I am playing golf tomorrow. I know you all think I'm crazy. I will be walking and carrying my bag because that's what men do. Men. So I'll be doing that. 7:30 in the morning tee time with my buddies that I play with out in Eureka. And we'll be done by like 11:30 at the latest. So we'll be done before the big heat comes in. But I don't know that we're having anything but big heat. It seems like 24/7 these days here in the Midwest. So check on those who might suffer from the heat. Be careful with the kids, because sometimes, the kids will dehydrate and have heat exhaustion and they don't even know it because they're so active. Pets, anybody, special needs folks in your lives, just take care of each other this weekend and tell everybody, drink lots of water, stay in the shade. And pretty much, I think between the hours of like noon and 4 o'clock, you shouldn't be outside unless you're in a cool swimming pool. That's probably what we got to pretend we're like in Arizona. However, next week, before all the climate change folks start lighting up my social media feed saying, I told you so. Yeah, it's July, you morons, and it's in the heartland. When I was a little kid, I still remember sitting on my grandma's sofa watching like the 10 o'clock news because grandma would let me stay up a little bit later. And before I went to bed, and I still remember, this is back in the 70s, okay? And I was still in the single digits and in the 70s. And I remember watching those weather forecasts on the local news networks, and it was not uncommon back in those days. I remember weeks of like 100, like actual temperatures, 100, 105. And so I don't know. Was it global warming and climate change back then when Leonard Nimoy was standing on the bridge in the famous video, also in the 70s, in the rain and windstorm, predicting that we were entering another ice age? No, it's all grift. It's all graft. It's all corruption. It's always somebody making a buck. Take care of Mother Earth, the thing that God gave us. Clean up your trash. Don't throw it out the window on the highways. Do what you can around your community and your neighborhood. Shut off the lights in your house. But other than that, folks, the planet Earth has been changing for billions of years and is going to continue to change. We should just be good stewards of it. I didn't know I was going to get off on this climate craze thing, but I was talking about the weather and how hot it is. So, sooner than later, we're going to be complaining about how cold it is. All right. Trust me. It's almost the end of July, August right around the bend. The days are already getting shorter if you haven't noticed. And we are going to have a big break in the temps next week. So take care of yourself this weekend, but have a good time. We're going to talk to Dr. Bob Onder at 425. Holy smokes. Do we have a lot to get into with the good doctor? Missouri is in the crosshairs of the Trump administration in a good way. Donald Trump and the Trump White House are asking a number of states, red states like Missouri, if they could do a mid-decade redistricting. Usually we only do redistricting once every 10 years, but did you know there's no written rule on that? You can redistrict every year if you want to. And many people like Bob Onder, when he was in the state Senate, were advocating vociferously for a 7-1 congressional map. And oh my goodness, does he look like a prophet now? Because here we are, and none other than Donald Trump and the Trump administration are asking Missouri to go back, do the job right this time, and redistrict us into a 7-1 map. We'll ask Bob what that means. What would it mean to have 7 Republican congressmen and women? Is that possible? Is it possible to add one more? Congressional districts are huge. When you change one, you change them all. You tend to change them all. So it's not just as easy as saying, okay, we'll just change this one district. It'll be fine. There's a bit of a domino effect with that. And so that's what you have to keep in mind. But Bob was in the Missouri State Senate dealing with this very issue and having, you may remember this epic battle where the Rhino Republican establishment and their campaign consultants didn't want to do a 7-1 map. They wanted to keep the 6-2 map. And the arch conservatives, the progenitors of the Missouri Freedom Caucus, they called themselves the Conservative Caucus at the time, folks like Bill Eigel and Danny Hoskins, our Secretary of State, and Dr. Bob Onder and Congressman Eric Burleson, they were all advocating vociferously for a 7-1 map. So we're gonna have a little Groundhog Day here, a little redux on that issue, and we're gonna talk to Bob about that at 4:25. We'll also speak with him about making entertainment great again. The mega, not MAGA, the mega act to rename the Kennedy Center to the Donald J. Trump Center. Oh man, I'll tell you what, between the defunding, appropriate defunding of NPR and PBS, followed by this, the arts and culture, left-wing liberal progressives have completely torn their hair out by the roots, if they have any of it left at this point. And so we'll talk to him about that. And the good congressman just texted me a second ago. We've been trying to call each other all day. They just kind of, Bob doesn't care what I ask him, but he's kind of like, hey, do you have like 12 topics in mind? And then we'll try to get through as many as possible. And so he always asks me what I want to talk about because he doesn't really care. He'll talk about anything. And so we went back and forth a little bit. And then he mentioned, let's see. The map, making entertainment great again. Oh, of course. I was going to ask him about this anyway. The Obama Russian collusion delusion hoax. Yes, I absolutely wanted to ask Bob about that. I planned to. And he said, yeah, let's do it. Oh, and Yale has shut down its pediatric transgender center, I believe on the heels of a couple of other. We talked about that earlier this week. It wasn't Yale. It was somebody else that shut down their transgender center. You know why? Because it's not affirming and it's not care. Okay. How many things were we told during the last 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration that are being completely upended, and now the opposite is becoming true? From the gender care crap to all the COVID craziness to the out-of-control spending, the Russian collusion hoax, which, remember, that still was kind of percolating during Biden's era, our failures around the globe, inflationary pressures, so on and so forth. They're all being turned around in complete 180-degree style because they were all either fake, phony, or wrong. Those things were fake, they were phony, or they were absolutely wrong. They were improper. Some were unlawful. And if you're talking about the Obama Russian collusion delusion hoax, they may have even been treasonous. So it's just really nice to know that happy days, sanity, safety, security, and prosperity are now reigning once again. At 4:45, typically Chris's Corner, I will bring to you some updates on some recent polling. Chris loves to talk about polling and such and kind of right track, wrong track of the country. Donald Trump's numbers holding firm right near, I'm going to tell you at 4:45. There you go. How about that tease? At 5:07, we have the speaker stump speech. And I definitely had, what was I going to talk about? Oh, this is a great tease, right? I can't remember what I was going to talk about. I remembered it earlier. I'll get back to it. I know I wrote it down somewhere. I'll have to get to my notes in a second. It'll be absolutely fantastic. I'll tease it before we get to it. How's that? I got 2 more segments to do for that. And my good friend, friend of the station, friend of the show, Peter Roff is going to join us. He is a fantastic syndicated columnist. I'm not sure how he gets his columns into Newsweek. Maybe he's one of the few remaining conservatives that has like the inside scoop on that. But he does. He is an awesome contributing editor and columnist to Newsweek and many other publications. He writes for a lot of center-right publications as well. Like I think he writes for like the Washington Examiner and folks like that. Oh! I just remembered the title of today's stump speech. I have to see if it's still. It was inspired by a headline that I saw at the Federalist. If you don't go to the Federalist, you really should. The Federalist is a really, really great publication. And Molly Hemingway writes for the Federalist. In fact, I think the guy who runs, Sean Davis, he's going to be coming to a summit meeting that I'm going to be at in September. Here it is. Yes, in lines with the Russian collusion delusion hoax, John Brennan, who hopefully will be on the hot seat once again soon. John Brennan's 5 lies. See, this is important. We got to go back to the beginning so we can explain to where we are now. John Brennan's 5 lies that set the Russian collusion delusion in motion. John Brennan's 5 lies that set the Russian collusion delusion in motion. That's what we're going to talk about as part of the speaker stump speech. newstalkstl.com. Go to newstalkstl.com, and I want you to do a few things there. First of all, we had the wall that heals coming through St. Louis yesterday. It's still here. Vic and Ken did a fantastic live remote there. And you all, I know it's hot, I know it's humid, but this is worth it. And for those who gave it all, I think we should all try and make a trip to the Wall That Heals. It's in St. Louis until Sunday, so you can see it today, tonight. You can go in the middle of the night if you want, when it may be 10 degrees cooler, because it's open 24/7. It's in a beautiful section of Jefferson Barracks Park. And I know the good folks in the county of St. Louis, a phrase that I don't use often, but they were on this. The good folks at the Parks Department, St. Louis County, they made a pitch for this over I think the last year or so to get this rolling exhibit into St. Louis County. It was in, I think, either Warren or St. Charles County a few years ago. And the St. Louis County folks were like, hey, we got to bring that here. So isn't that great? As much as we complain about the county of St. Louis, there are not so many communists here that they don't appreciate things like the Wall That Heals. So the Wall That Heals is here, and it's here through Sunday. And from all that Vic and Ken have described about it, it sounds absolutely spectacular. St. Louis Young Republicans Trivia Night is tonight. If you want to swing by the St. Louis County GOP HQ, we'd love to see you. Vic is going to be there. I'm going to be there. Susie's going to be there. It's going to be the mighty News Talk STL Brain Power Table, mainly because my wife will be there and she knows lots of trivial stuff. I'm sort of only half teasing. Suzanne knows all. She'll admit that. I actually know quite a bit of trivial crap too. Between Vic, Susie, Suzanne, and I, and a couple of our friends, unless it's rigged against us, which Jamie Murphy, son of Jim Murphy, he may try to rig this against me. I know he'll try. So unless it's rigged, I know we possibly will come out in the top 3. I think we were second place last year, second or third, something like that. And then finally, the Steve Forbes event is coming to St. Louis, specifically to Lindenwood University, the Hammond Institute at Lindenwood University, September 18th. My understanding is we have already had several hundred tickets claimed. I think we're approaching 500 tickets that have been claimed for this. This event, folks, could easily sell out because you can only cram so many people in the Schneidiger Center. It holds a lot, but it doesn't hold an infinite amount. So I want you to go to newstalkstl.com, check out all those events, and especially the Forbes event. Make sure you get a ticket for that before they all run out. Download the app as well. Carry us with you wherever you might go around the planet. Hey, let's get to a break. We're going to bring in the good Congressman, Dr. Bob Onder, next to talk about all the things I mentioned. We're going to talk about Kennedy Center becoming the Trump Center. Possibility, maybe, possibly. Keep hope alive. The top congressional headlines, the Russian collusion delusion hoax, and can we make Missouri even greater again when it comes to our congressional districts? All of that and more on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps from the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Slight chance for an isolated storm this evening, otherwise dry overnight, and First Alert weather days continue for intense heat and humidity over the weekend. Low of 79 Saturday, high of 94, heat index up to 100 to 105. There's a 30% chance for a shower storm in the afternoon to early evening. Could be a quick heavy downpour too. Sunday, a 20% chance for a heavy thunderstorm, otherwise another hot day, a high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey, everybody, it's your buddy Todd Showalter from the Right Mind Show, along with my buddy Joey V. And remember, we're not on just Saturdays at 5. Now we're on Sundays at 2.
Putting the fun in our dysfunctional world. It's the Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter.
Hey, Jamie Ullman here with my common sense brother, Rob Very, owner of STL Bath and Renovation. And let me tell you something, your home is your castle, but so is your bathroom. Rob, how can you make it beautiful?
Jamie, if you're tired of cleaning, you love the tile, but you hate the grout, we can give you man-made or natural stone in your bathroom for your floors and walls, but no grout. Easy to maintain.
And beautiful. All kinds of selections as well.
More than you can count.
STLBR.com, St. Louis Bath and Renovation, STLBR.com. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Jamie.
As Tim Jones has been telling you, when life changes, you need someone you can trust. And that's Todd Sivia. At Sivia Law, we're dedicated to helping you through life's transitions, specializing in estate planning and elder law. With 7 convenient locations in the area, expert guidance is always close by. Call 833-995-WILL, 833-995-WILL, or visit CiviaLaw.com. And don't forget, the first 10 people to tell them Tim Jones sent me get a free $300 strategy session.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be Shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Everything's fake with that administration. Everything's fake with the Democrats. Take a look at what they just found about the dossier. Everything is fake. They're a bunch of sick people.
They sure are. It's a great way to wrap it all up in one big, beautiful bow, Mr. President. Thank you for that. And, as I was saying in the first segment, I was basically saying the same types of sentiments that everything the Democrats tried to foist on us over the last 4+ years before Donald Trump 2.0 started, it was fake. It was phony. And it was largely resulted in massive crises and catastrophes that we shouldn't have had to deal with as a nation. We got the perfect guy on the line to help us break down and analyze all of these items and more. We'll speak to him now and next.
Dr. Bob Onder, Congressman for Missouri's 3rd District.
We're calling Dr. Bob. We're calling Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob.
As he does on Friday afternoons to get us properly prepared for the weekend. Fresh off the plane from the swamp, Dr. Bob Onder, the Congressman from Missouri's 3rd Congressional District, speaking with us now. Bob, I know you're so happy, even though it's hot as Hades, I know you're thrilled to be back here in the heartland.
Well, I sure am, Tim. I've actually was back a couple of days ago, and it's just as hot in Washington, D.C. As you may know, Washington, D.C. is not only metaphorically a swamp, it is literally built on a swamp that got filled in. So, it's hot and humid there, too, but I'm thrilled to be back home.
Bob, have you learned any differently being in D.C. for the past 6 months? Have you learned anything differently than what we've always thought, and what the president pretty much pointed out there? Everything the Democrats do is fake. It's phony, whether it was what we were told during COVID, whether it was what we were told about the 2016 or 2020 elections. No matter the case may be, they just seem to want to lie, cheat, and steal their way past the American people, don't they?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Tim. Yeah, and what's more is everything the Democrats accuse Republicans of doing, they are doing themselves and 100 times worse. I mean, take for instance this idea that was continually we were continually accused of spreading misinformation, let us say, about COVID. I mean, what a misinformation machine the Obama Justice Department, the FBI, the CIA foisted upon the American people with the Russiagate hoax. I think we always suspected that Obama was in on that, but thanks to President Trump naming Tulsi Gabbard Director of National Intelligence, we now have the receipts. We now know that we know exactly when it happened. On December 9th, 2016, after Trump was the president-elect of the United States, Barack Obama, knowing better, actually having information about just what the Russians were doing, directed his intelligence operatives to pursue this Russiagate collusion hoax against President-elect Trump. It set off years of false charges against President Trump. No, everything the Democrats touch, everything the mainstream media touches, it proves to be a hoax.
And Bob, don't you just laugh at their self-righteous indignation about the fact that Barack Obama is alleged to be involved in this. First of all, why would anybody be surprised at that, right? We know that Hillary Clinton could only do so much because she was not actually in power. Barack Obama was. But after trying to jail Donald Trump, put him on Rikers Island, accuse him of everything under the sun, and the only reason they had success on anything, I'm speaking of that New York case, was because they got a leftist progressive prosecutor to do their bidding. But now, Bob, how rich is it that they've got all this self-righteous indignation about the great one, their Messiah, being accused of wrongdoing?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, 92 felony charges against Donald Trump in 4 different jurisdictions. And then, of course, you and I are both attorneys. We know that in criminal cases, when there's any question as to whether the defendant can get a fair trial in a given jurisdiction, a change of venue is very liberally granted, but not if you're Donald J. Trump. So biased venue, biased prosecutor, biased judge, completely bogus. But you're right. There was no way, Tim, that the FBI, the CIA, the FISA court, and the Justice Department can target a major presidential candidate, much less a president, without the sitting president, President Obama, knowing about it. Well, it turns out that is exactly what happened. And not only did he know about it, it wasn't that some rogue agent at the FBI was doing something that Obama just vaguely knew about. No, he directed it. He ordered it. In fact, it turns out some of the intelligence he was privy to at the time included the fact that the Russians were hiding dirt on Hillary Clinton about her flying off into rages and that she was allegedly on heavy sedatives, quote unquote, during the presidential campaign. So if anything, the Russians were hiding and holding back evidence against Hillary that they could use later on should she be named, should she get elected president.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, indeed. We're speaking with Congressman Dr. Bob Onder at Bob Onder Mo, onder.house.gov. Check out his website. Get on his newsletter list. Puts out a lot of great information. onder.house.gov, at Bob Onder Mo on Twitter X, Missouri's 3rd Congressional District Congressman. Bob, let's talk congressional redistricting here in the state of Missouri. A complex issue, but I know we can explain it really well for the folks because you were intimately involved in the process the last time around, and you were advocating for something called a 7-1 map, 7 Republicans, 1 Democrat. Lo and behold, just a few years later, the guy in the White House currently agrees with you, doesn't he? And we have an opportunity to fix the wrong that was done back then, don't we?
Yes, that's for sure. You know, it's just it's surreal to see that after some of us, we call ourselves back then the Missouri Senate and Missouri House Conservative Caucus. Our good friend Nick Shore was one of the leaders of the House Conservative Caucus. Of course, Denny Hoskins, now Secretary of State, Eric Burleson, now Congressman, and Bill Eigel and I were all fighting hard for a 7-1 map because, look, I mean, Donald Trump had won the state by 20 points. The Republicans have held every statewide elected office, and we have supermajorities in the Missouri House and the Missouri Senate. There is no way in the world that we should have 2 progressive Democrats heading to Washington, D.C. Drawing these congressional maps is fundamentally a political process. And in Democrat states, Democrats were being very, very aggressive at squeezing out every last Democrat seat they could, whether it be California, New York, New Jersey, or even across the river in Illinois. So, yes, now President Trump's team wants those additional seats, and it could mean the control of the U.S. House of Representatives. And whether Donald Trump really has a 4-year term or whether for 2 years he has to deal with incessant impeachments by Hakeem Jeffries and his ilk.
And Bob, no matter how much some of the squishy rhinos who are still here in the Senate, I think most of them are about to term out. If Donald Trump's White House says to the governor of a state, I really want you to do something to help me and the entire Republican Party out. Everybody kind of needs to understand that the answer needs to be yes, right?
I think so. Yeah, it was in 2022. Obviously, some of the squishes they were able to ignore or outvote Nick Shore and Bob Onder, but a call from President Trump might carry a little more weight.
Indeed. Bob, I tell you, every time we look around, there seems to be winning occurring. And I noticed earlier this week that one of these hospitals of horror regarding that claim to provide gender affirming care. As I always say, nothing affirming or care about lopping off kids' body parts. You brought to my attention that this is having a bit of a domino effect, and now another institution is deciding to close its gender affirming care's doors, right? Do tell.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, Tim, 26 states, including Missouri, have passed laws to outlaw this horrific practice of chemically castrating and mutilating children. I mean, rendering them permanently infertile because the kids, thought they were a girl rather than a boy, or a boy rather than a girl, and rendering them permanently infertile, permanently scarred by the various medical complications of this, gender mutilating care. 26 states have acted to protect kids. So it's really exciting to see when, as a result of President Trump's executive orders, some institutions in blue states are acting to close down their gender mutilating care. And that happened just this week when Yale Health Center in, of course, Connecticut, shut down their clinic, will no longer provide chemical castration drugs, wrong sex hormones, and surgeries to minors. Now, it's important to pay attention to what Yale said as they did this. There's no question they're not doing the right thing for the right reason. They're just blaming President Trump, and President Trump's mean and he doesn't care about these kids. The fact is, President Trump and Republicans and we are the ones who care about these kids, because these kids often have serious mental health problems, depression, anxiety, autism spectrum disorders, and these gender groomers are preying on these poor kids, telling them that all their problems will go away if they only transition to the opposite sex. We are the ones who are protecting these kids. I think this is a sad chapter that will go down as just the greatest example of medical malpractice in American medical history. And no, it's good. It's important as these executive orders are, and as effectual as they have been. It's important that we permanently put in our law books a ban on these horrific practices.
I think we're going to look back and think, wow, did we live through a lot of stupid times? Indeed. Congressman, you have filed a new piece of legislation that I will bet has everyone in the liberal intelligentsia in and around the swamp absolutely lighting their ever-loving hair on fire. You have filed the Make Entertainment Great Again Act. Tell us what you're up to with that one.
Well, you would be right, Tim. I've the Post-Dispatch, always the friend of every conservative Republican. The Post-Dispatch has editorialized not once but twice in 2 days against my bill. They're pulling out their thesaurus of words they could use to describe me as a bad person. But yeah, for over 50 years, Tim, the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts has really been a symbol of American cultural excellence, and I'm sorry to say that in recent years, especially under really woke Democrat leadership, so-called, the Kennedy Center has been in serious decline. It's chronically run a deficit. It's $72 million in debt, and it has a lot of decaying infrastructure and deferred maintenance. President Trump, who in his own right has been a patron of the arts and a cultural icon himself, and obviously a phenomenal businessman, he has taken an interest in this center. Himself, he has accepted the position of chairman of the board, and he is committed to returning the Performing Arts Center to its greatness, turning it around financially, advocating for a large investment in the big, beautiful bill to fix some of the infrastructure issues at the center. But more than that, restoring the center to doing performances that people really want to see and that reflect American values. American taxpayers want more Sound of Music and Mozart and less wokeness and drag queen story hours.
Could not agree more with you on that. Congressman Bob Onder, our guest here this afternoon. Bob, I believe Congress now is embarking on its August recess, right? So you're going to probably be in and around the 3rd Congressional District as much as possible. I know you come home every week, but now you're going to have a little extended time here. So I bet you're going to be getting around the entire district. 3rd Congressional District has a lot of geography to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it sure does. And I've, as soon as we get off the phone here, I'm going to be packing up the car and heading down to Jefferson County, where I'm one of the main speakers at the Lincoln Days this evening. I really look forward to that reunion. I spoke a couple of months ago on the Law Enforcement Recognition Day. I was honored to be the keynote speaker at that event. So, Jefferson County obviously is a very important part of the congressional district. I think it's a total of about 10 or 12% of the whole district. So I'll be down there. I will be in Jefferson City. I think next week I'm also heading down to Miller County. I lose track after a while. My scheduler in D.C., and then of course Seth York, yes, my district director in Jefferson City, and of course Krista Montgomery, a longtime fixture of St. Charles County politics, first for Tom Dempsey and then for Blaine Luetkemeyer. She's my boss here in St. Charles County. So they're going to keep me busy, but this is the fun part of the job, coming home and telling people what we're doing in D.C.
Yeah, folks want to reach out to the congressional office, onder.house.gov. Bob, before we let you go, one last question. If you can look into perhaps a cloudy crystal ball into when you return in September after Labor Day, what's up next for Congress? Is it another reconciliation bill? Is it another rescissions package? Is it all of the above? Some more oversight hearings? What do you think what's on tap for the latter half of the year?
Yeah, well, I sure hope we do see all of the above. Just Speaker Johnson tells us he wants to do at least 2 more reconciliation packages, which sounds great. President Trump promises us more rescission bills, which, the first one was terrific, getting rid of some of the wasteful foreign aid and the ridiculous funding to NPR and PBS. But really, I think the main thing when we come back in September will be getting the budget passed. Now, we probably do not have time to do that through the way that you and I would like to do it, through so-called regular order, the House passing 12 budget bills, the Senate passing 12 budget bills. There's probably not time for that. The House has done its work, and we passed 2 out of the House. We could probably queue up and in a couple of weeks pass the remainder. But to get those through the Senate, it looks like we'll be dealing with another continuing resolution. But I think I'd like to see the continuing resolution we pass along the lines of Trump's so-called skinny, which is to say fiscally conservative budget that he submitted to about 6 weeks ago. But that will be a fight because, as we know, the Democrats in the House and the Democrats in the Senate, and unfortunately, too many Republicans don't have an appetite for cutting spending.
That is for sure. Congressman Dr. Bob Onder, our guest here this afternoon. Bob, travel safe and well around the 3rd Congressional District, and we'll speak with you next week. And have a great time at Jefferson County Lincoln Days tonight.
Well, thank you, Tim. Have a great weekend.
You too as well. Congressman Dr. Bob Onder. Folks, seriously, he's got a lot of great resources. If you're in the 3rd Congressional District, or just want to get on his mailing list. All the Congress folks in our state, very helpful. Well, at least the Republicans are. Onder.house.gov. Onder.house.gov. You can sign up for the newsletter and the alerts there. You can follow him at Bob Under Mo on Twitter X. All right. When we come back, Democrats are lost 1 year, hence Biden's exit. However, they're starting to look at someone who they weren't real happy about at first, but who had some recent success. They might be following that roadmap instead. Also have some interesting polling information for you and much more when we return on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1. Happy Friday, all y'all. Thanks for joining us on News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Slight chance for an isolated storm this evening, otherwise dry overnight, and First Alert weather days continue for intense heat and humidity over the weekend. Low of 79 Saturday, high of 94, heat index up to 100 to 105. There's a 30% chance for a shower storm in the afternoon to early evening. Could be a quick heavy downpour too. Sunday, a 20% chance for a heavy thunderstorm, otherwise another hot day, a high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Temple.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
So the government finally cut a little bit of spending. What should be cut next? Monday at 7:35, we are talking to Congressman Bob Onder about that.
Morning starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
Well, if you put your body through all kinds of stress and effort and exertion this weekend, you're going to want to go to Comprehensive Chiropractic next week. Trust me, I'm going to Comprehensive Chiropractic next week. I already got my appointment set with Dr. Gorman. Doctors Fader, Gorman, Benton, they're all awesome, and they have a massive staff at Comprehensive Chiropractic to help you out with all of your chiropractic needs and beyond. They are the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. Look them up right now at cchiropractic.com. Yes, Comprehensive Chiropractic is at cchiropractic.com. They have assisted not only myself, I've been a patient for nearly 2 decades, my family members, my folks, my daughters, my wife, my in-laws, everybody's gone to Comprehensive Chiropractic, and they've loved it because of the awesome care they receive there. A wide range of holistic chiropractic services and so much more. Do you have joint pain? Come on, everybody does, right? My elbow was killing me up until recently. Went to Comprehensive Chiropractic, and it has been cured. It feels so much better. I'm so glad because it was one of those chronic nagging injuries, right? It's hard to sleep. It's hard to think. It's hard to do anything when you have such a chronic nagging injury. They took care of it. They can take care of you as well. Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com. They've got the studio upstairs, the Health and Wellness Center. It's absolutely spectacular and beautiful. Pilates and yoga classes and so much more. The licensed massage therapist, the personal trainers. They'll work with you on your nutrition needs. I mentioned earlier, trouble sleeping. They can speak with you about that as well. Really top to bottom care. And that's why it's called Comprehensive Chiropractic. Comprehensive Chiropractic, cchiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my good friend Harry Parker and the ultimate seafood dining experience at Gulf Shores, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com. Gulf Shores offering a unique dining experience with a vast, mouth-watering menu of all of your favorite delicious dishes, something for everyone's taste or palate. 3 convenient locations: Edwardville, Creve Coeur, and St. Peter's. Dine in, carry out. They've got a food truck, too. Friendly staff. Looking forward to seeing you, making your dining experience one you will remember. Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill.com.
Join Aaron Tarlow every Sunday night at 9 on News Talk STL for Shall Not Be Infringed, your voice for Second Amendment rights and firearms education. Brought to you by DG Firearms, Kevin's Guns, Osage County Guns, and Full Circle Reloading and Firearms.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Zoran Mamdani as he pushes for government-run grocery stores in New York City. A similar project underway in the Midwest is not doing so well. You can see there on your screen.
I walk in there, I'm pretty sure you walked in there. There's no meat, there's no vegetables, there's no nothing. It's anything can be done.
I used to come here and I used to walk here. And then after a while, it's like, wow, I can't get what I need here.
Apparently we need to put up like an electronic billboard running that clip in Times Square, because New Yorkers are on the precipice of electing someone who's going to bring that same fantastic degree of failure to the Big Apple. Kansas City, Missouri. Can you believe it? Usually these crazy far left-wing progressive ideas start on the coast, and then after several years they get here, and even though they've already failed by then on the coast, our left-wing progressives here in the heartland have a bad habit of adopting them. And I'm always like, I want to go up to some of my Democratic friends. I'm like, you guys have the internet, right? Maybe like TVs. You guys have televisions. I know you watch CNN and MSNBC. Didn't you see that idea that was in New York and California over the last few months? It's failed, right? Like banning gasoline engines and stuff like that, like raising the minimum wage to $800 an hour. I'm only slightly exaggerating because that's pretty much what Gavin Newsom was. You know, you might as well, right? If raising the minimum wage liberals do not, I'm sorry, you left-wing liberals, you do not understand economics. Because by your logic dictates that if we raise the minimum wage, then that automatically lifts people out of poverty, and we have eradicated all the world's woes, right? Well, then why hasn't it worked? Because in some places in this country, you all, by that I mean you left-wing progressives, you've had the ability to do that, and you've done just that. You've raised the wage in many areas of this country, in the deep blue cities and the deep blue states, to well over $15 an hour. And why haven't you eradicated poverty? Why haven't you eliminated the poor? Why are there still poor? Why are still people struggling? Because that's not how it works. And by your logic, if raising it to X number, and you know they always move the goalpost, right? Well, it needs to be $10 an hour. Well, that didn't work, so it needs to be 15. Well, that doesn't work. It needs to be 20. And now Zoran Mamdani, he sounds like he's like out of I can't decide if it's like a space movie or something. Zoran Mamdani. Yeah, like out of like Dune or something. Why don't you just make it by your logic, raising the minimum? Because see, there is no number which will result in poverty being eradicated, because therefore you might as well raise it. Why don't you just make it $100 an hour? Would that take care of it? Or $200 an hour? No, because a number of bad things happen when you raise the minimum wage. The first thing that happens is you eliminate minimum wage jobs, right? So if like the convenience stores or the mom and pop bar and grills or the fast food giants, if they can't pay people what they need to pay them for entry level, well, then they'll just find a workaround. And they're already doing it. They've already done it. For those of you who are like, well, we'll just make them do this, that, and other thing. Well, no, you're going to make them be out of business. And is that your goal? Maybe that's the goal. Maybe the goal is to have 3 corporations gigantic corporations in the country that are run by the uber elitists, and that all of us work in cubicles in cities in pods for those companies. You ever watch some of the post-apocalyptic movies, the dystopian future movies? That's what when I see those movies, like I just watched it's one of my favorite movies. I've watched it several times. It's dark, it's foreboding, but it's so well done. Now I can't think of it, of course. It's the one with Harrison Ford, the original one. And they just redid it, and it's on the tip of my tongue. Maybe Ethan can help me out here. What's the famous cult classic? Harrison Ford and the cyborgs that look almost human, and they just redid it.
Oh my God! Oh, Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Right.
They just made Blade Runner 2049. Did you see the new one?
No, I never did. I was afraid to.
It's I know I was too. I was like, oh, they'll ruin it. Ethan, they did a fantastic job.
Of course, that's not new anymore, is it?
No.
I still think of that one as new, but
it's newer.
Yeah.
You should watch it. If you like the original, you will like Blade Runner 2049. I think it's Ryan Reynolds who's in it.
Wow. All right.
And Harrison Ford comes in at near like the last third of the movie.
Hey, spoilers, man.
And that's all I'm going to tell you.
No, good. That's good.
It's a really cool flick.
I've been waiting for a recommendation on that one because I've been wanting to watch it, or not. I've been afraid to watch it, but I've been thinking about it. So this recommendation means something.
It has all the atmosphere of the first one, and then some, because now we've got more CGI technology and we can do cooler things on the big screen. They took the feeling and the look of the original, and this rarely happens in sequels. They made it better. It's really cool. So I would highly recommend it. So, I think of movies like that. When I see movies like that, or like The Hunger Games, I'm like, well, those are movies where the lunatic progressive left have had their way and they've taken over, because they are the totalitarians. They are the tyrants. They want all of us working and slaving away out in the fields in what was in Hunger Games, District 9, whatever it was. They want us all out in the districts, growing their food for them. We're just cattle, we're just the labor, right? That's what they want. So that's what I think of when I think of these dystopian movies. So you might as well raise the wage to $1 bazillion an hour, and you might as well have the government run everything, not just the grocery stores, if you all think that actually works. As the clip that we played coming in to take this full circle for this segment shows, that is not a recipe for success. Centralized government planning and doing things that Zoran Mandami wants to do are recipes for disaster, because communism has always failed around the globe. My point on all of this, though, watch out, because Democrats are slowly realizing that everything that they did in the 2024 election cycle was an absolute. They're finally starting to all admit that, not just the ones who saw it on the first outset, like the Bill Maher's and the James Carvilles and the David Axelrods of the world. But now even I think some of the lunatic fringe is realizing everything we did in 2024 was a failure. We now need to do, we're scared of this Mandami guy because he just rips off the Band-Aid. And he's like, yeah, communism is cool. And we're like, well, that's probably not a good slogan, but the way that he ran, the things they did, he made outlandish promises to people that he'll never be able to keep, but it was positive, it was uplifting, it was the feels. And they're like, oh yeah, who does that remind us of? Oh, that was kind of Barack Obama. So Mandami is like the full frontal communist version of him. And that's what they're going to try to do. Don't be fooled by it. It will fail like it's always failed throughout history. Don't believe in the new bright, shiny object. We got to get out of this hour and get into the next one. Speaker Stump Speech is up next. The 5 Lies of Brennan and more. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Hey, folks, it's Jamie Allman here for the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. I love this team so much, and Rodney and Jen love the team so much, I became a member. So now I'm an agent with the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, and I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that we're going to get you into a home really super easily. and with the lowest cost you're ever going to find, and make sure we find you that dream home. We're also going to list your home and get the top dollar for your home. I'm telling you, Rodney and Jen love this business. You can tell it is infectious, and I'm so happy to be a real estate agent there with them. 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD. Whether you are buying your home or selling your home, I'm telling you what, the costs are going to be absolutely totally minimal, but the professionalism and getting the job done for you is going to be 100%. The Wallner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD.
Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper.
Hey, Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management, and joining us this Sunday for Serenity Wealth Now Radio, we have got radio legend, absolutely amazing individual, 50 plus years in the music radio business, Mark Close, joining us in the Serenity Wealth Now studio. So tune in this Sunday, 9 a.m. right here on News Talk STL or at serenitywealthnow.com and social media channels.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A new Wall Street Journal poll reveals a striking 11-point surge in the number of Americans who rate the U.S. economy as excellent or good. Correspondent Bernie Bennett has this update.
The surge in economic optimism appears to be giving President Donald Trump a critical boost in his political standing. According to the poll, 47% of registered voters now view the economy in positive terms, up from just 36% in April. This shift marks a significant break in the years-long trend of economic pessimism that's defined much of the post-pandemic era. The poll finds President Trump with a 46% job approval, higher than the 40% he had at this point in his first term. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Deportation flights from the so-called Alligator Alcatraz facility in Florida have begun. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has the story.
Governor Ron DeSantis said the first flights from the remote Everglades immigration lockup, known as Alligator Alcatraz, transferred about 100 detainees from the Immigration Detention Center to other countries.
The whole purpose is to make this be a place that can facilitate increased frequency and numbers of deportations of illegal aliens.
He added that 2 or 3 flights have departed from the site so far. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell has finished 1.5 days of interviews with Justice Department officials. Maxwell's lawyers said Friday she answered questions about 100 different people. Maxwell is serving a 20-year prison term in Tallahassee, Florida, for helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls. Maxwell's interview is related to the controversy about the Epstein investigation. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 208 points, the NASDAQ rose 50. More at townhall.com.
A couple years ago, I was in the bathroom at the airport when I dropped my smartphone in the toilet. Not smart. I was multitasking when I should have been focused on the job at hand. Embarrassing, but I'm not alone. According to Google, 7 million other multitaskers accidentally dropped their phones into the bowl last year. A gentle reminder that right now you can get yourself a brand new Samsung Galaxy A36 absolutely free with a $35 plan from Pure Talk. The A36 comes with scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass and a battery that'll last all day, along with unlimited talk, text, and data on America's most dependable 5G network. In other words, it's tough and smart. Something to think about next time you're multitasking in the necessary. Just dial pound 250, say keyword micro to get your free phone today. You can make the switch in just 10 minutes. That's pound 250. Say micro to switch to a no-nonsense smartphone and a company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Slight chance for an isolated storm this evening, otherwise dry overnight, and First Alert weather days continue for intense heat and humidity over the weekend. Low of 79 Saturday, high of 94, heat index up to 100 to 105. There's a 30% chance for a shower storm in the afternoon to early evening. Could be a quick heavy downpour too. Sunday, a 20% chance for a heavy thunderstorm, otherwise another hot day, a high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for Patriot Heating and Cooling. When your home's comfort is on the line, you need a team you can trust. That's why I recommend Patriot Heating and Cooling, St. Louis's trusted team of HVAC experts. These pros make customer service their number one priority, whether it's a summer breakdown or a winter emergency. Booking your service couldn't be easier. Just visit callpatriothvacstl.com or call 314-527-2722. Patriot Heating and Cooling. Comfort every day, the Patriot way.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
You know, when you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
News, analysis, opinion.
Isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country?
How the mayors in these sanctuary jurisdictions are dealing with it, that's interesting.
Safety is our primary concern.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
We're thinking about that, actually. We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. But we're thinking about a rebate. That's a very good question. You just made a lot of news. We're thinking about a rebate because we have so much money coming in from tariffs that a little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice.
The Trump tariffs are so destructive that we're going to have to give money back to the people. Oh, you're all wrong again, you economic experts out there. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show, 1019 94.1. This is News Talk STL. Excuse me. You know, the wonderful thing, one of the many wonderful things about News Talk STL is that on Friday evenings after Larry Connor's USA, right? Larry follows us every day, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Oh, Larry texted me. He reminded me of something. Excuse me. Allergies are bothering me today. Sorry about that. Larry texted me that Chris is in Tyler, Texas. That's right. Yes. Chris Arp's not here today. He's in Tyler, Texas, where Larry Connors' brother lives. Maybe they can hang out, go for a Shinerbach or something. I think Shinerbach is a Texas beer, right? Ethan, are you a beer expert? You know anything about Shinerbach?
Very far from a beer expert, no.
I think Shinerbach is Texas. I think that's it. And there's another famous Texan beer. It's Lone Star, I think, or something like that.
The only beer I knew that was far away was Yingling, and then that came here. That was all I knew.
And now it's not exotic anymore.
No, it kind of lost its fun at that point. But
do you have a different flavor? Are you like a 3 martini lunch kind of guy, like Almond?
I am, as a matter of fact. Yeah, but I'll do a Blue Moon.
I'm kind of with you. Yeah, so I like a good martini too. I think we talked about this previously.
We actually just did.
We did. We like vodka, don't we?
We do. I like vodka in our martinis.
I had one last weekend at Napoli 2, who's one of Larry's advertisers and is advertiser for the station.
Oh, I've been meaning to go there.
Oh, it's so good. It is a wonderful place. The service is excellent, and the food's fantastic. And boy, do they make a good drink there.
Is that the one right next to the cigar bar?
So there's a bunch of Napolis, and the original Cafe Napoli is in Clayton. Right next to it is Bar Napoli. That was kind of their second venture. And their third venture was Napoli 2. That's out in Town and Country, kind of Town and Country, Chesterfield area. And then Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta is what you're referring to. That's in Chesterfield Valley, right by Lit Cigar.
Bingo. Okay. And that's the one I've been meaning to go to because I do go to Lit Cigar. So,
well, you would love Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta. A little more casual. You can get pizza, pasta. You can take it down to Lit and hang out there. If you want to go out to St. Charles, they've got Napoli 3 at the streets of St. Charles. And then there's Napoli C, SEA, right next door. So Larry can send me my commission check for doing all that for him just now.
And I'll get a little bit of that too.
You will. We were talking about martinis, I think, and our drinks of choice. I had a delicious martini last week at Napoli 2, and it's on the menu as, I'm not making fun of Vic Porcelli here. It's called the Dirty Italian. It literally is called that, which is just fantastic. So how did I get off on that tangent? I'm trying to remember.
Beers. We were talking about it.
We're talking about
Texas beers.
Texas. We're talking about Texas. Yeah. So Chris Arps not here today. He is in Tyler, Texas, where Larry Connors' brother resides. So see, I can take a segue, turn it into a rabbit hole, and then I have no idea what planet I'm on. And somehow Ethan pulled me back up to this one. So welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. I just have so much stuff I'm like Donald Trump. I have so much stuff in my head. I got to get it all out. And sometimes it becomes stream of consciousness. I only have like 45 minutes left, and I got to do a bunch of stuff here, including speaking to my great friend, Peter Roff, in the second segment. Peter is the Newsweek. Peter is a Newsweek contributing editor and columnist. He also writes for a lot of other publications. He's not a lefty. He is one of the few conservatives. Somehow he's fooled in Newsweek into allowing them to publish his stuff. And he has a great piece that just came out this week on the whole Epstein files thing, and I know some of you, I don't know. Do you all care about the Epstein files thing? Bill O'Reilly had a great soliloquy today that I caught because we run his stuff throughout the day on our program, the O'Reilly Report, and on our station. And his point was not that it's not important, not that it's not something we should care about. We should care about government accountability and when people make us promises. And I understand this was calling it a central issue of the Trump campaign. I think, unlike some people, I think that's a bridge too far. The central planks, and this is why Donald Trump won. And this is similar to Mondami. Now, Trump and Mondami couldn't be further apart. The guy running for mayor, the communist running for mayor. Trump and Mondami couldn't be further apart on what they think would make America great again. Trump's ideas are all based in the free market and basically economic freedom and liberty. And Mondami's are based in centralized government planning and communism. Mondami's will fail. Trump's are succeeding. They have succeeded. They will succeed again. Here's where they're similar. Donald Trump tells people what he's going to do for them, right? Not just sit there. Yeah, Donald Trump's a critical guy, right? He likes to bash with the best of them. Generally, he's a counterpuncher. But he tells people, look, here's the problems the country's facing. Here's how I'm going to solve them. Now, Donald Trump's solutions make sense. Mondami has a similar style. He identifies the problems that exist, okay? And New York has plenty of them. And then Mondami says how he's going to fix them. Now, his solutions are ridiculous, outlandish, hilarious if it wasn't so serious, and insane, right? But he basically says, okay, we have problems with food deserts in New York. I'm going to implement government-run grocery stores. Woo! And people go, yay! And then they try them in Kansas City, and they absolutely epically fail. And they'll fail if they try to do it in New York City as well. New York has problems with crime. Donald Trump says, I'm going to surge the police force. Like if Donald Trump was mayor, he'd say, so New York City has lots of different crime problems, right? They have good old-fashioned crappy crime, and then they have illegal alien crime, illegal immigrant, illegal alien crime, right? Donald Trump can't do much about the former because he's not the mayor or the police commissioner, but he can do stuff about the latter because the latter involves violations of federal law. Illegal aliens, by their very presence, by their very existence, by what they are violating the law. They don't have to do anything else. Many of them do, many of them don't. But many of them do, as we've seen in horrific fashion. Don't write hate mail to the station and say, Tim hates every single immigrant and he says they're all criminals. I did not say that. You might think I said that, but I didn't say that if you went back and look at the tape. For the ones that are the illegal alien criminals, Donald Trump can do something about that, and he has been doing something about that. He has sent Tom Homan in and ICE to clean up the problems that he can help. Now, it may only be a segment or a percentage or a sector, but you know what? 10, 15% less crime in New York City is better than no less crime in New York City, right? So you got a crime problem. Donald Trump says, I'm going to surge law enforcement and I'm going to take care of that problem. I'm going to remove it from you, right? And that would solve the problem. Mondami says, I'm going to get rid of the police force and I'm going to send in the social workers. Yay! And all the progressives go, yay! And then it epically fails. It goes bad and south and wrong. And then New York probably has a boomerang election like they did when Comrade. So have New Yorkers forgotten they already tried this? Like 5 minutes ago, there was a guy who was the mayor, Bill de Blasio. He was there right before Eric Adams. Are your memories that short? Bill de Blasio is a communist. He believes in the things that Mondami was. I guess Mondami is the younger, slicker, cooler, hipper-looking version, and so they think that's going to work. Identity politics does not work. Just because you slap a bunch of lipstick or a slick, skinny suit on the communist, Mondami versus de Blasio, doesn't mean that the communism is going to work this time any more than it didn't work last time. I hope that all makes sense. But my point is, with Mondami, the Democrats are looking at him, even though they don't like, they're like, oh man, we're all liberals and leftists, but he's going too far, and we're going to lose elections. But then they're looking, well, how did he win though? Why did he win that primary? There's a lot of reasons, but one of them was he stayed positive. And even though his positive solutions are crazy and insane, he definitely sung from a different playbook. So, beware of I guess the ultimate lesson here is beware of the wolf in sheep's clothing. Indeed. All right. So Chris Arps is out today. He's in Tyler, Texas, where Larry Connors' brother is, as we've all learned. I'm here. Producer Ethan is here. Monday, I will be out. And even though I'm out, I don't know that I'm going to be enjoying my outness because I'm going to be outside all day helping run a golf tournament for my very good friend, Senator Adam Schnelting. It's going to be 1,000 degrees, and we're going to be outside all day. So at the end of that day, I'm going to collapse probably in a cold shower. So I didn't know I would be in any condition to do the show. So I'll be back on Tuesday. Chris and Joey will be here on Monday. Chris and Joey will be here on Monday, and the whole family will be back here on Tuesday.
Not Joey. Ethan will be producing again.
Correction. Ethan will be producing, not for Tim and Chris, but just for Chris this time.
Yep.
And not just
I can't
Tim.
get both of you at the same time. Why can't I get both of you at the
It's
same
not
time?
you, Ethan. It's us. Trust me. It's not you. It's us. It's our issues. So I had to drink my coffee with Bailey's there. No, it's just coffee. I always wonder how Jamie gets through a 3-martini lunch. If I had a 3-martini lunch, I'd be under the table. I can have 1 martini, Ethan. Man, there's been a couple times where I had 2, and I kind of regretted it. Like 1's enough, and then I switched to something a little lighter.
No, 3 is the absolute limit. 3 is beyond the limit.
Beyond
frankly.
the limit. Send you over the edge. So, so Ethan and Chris will be here on Monday, and then Joey and Tim and Chris will be back on Tuesday and for the rest of the week. Folks, you don't have to worry about this. We have such awesome talent here. Even in the summer months when everybody's traveling and on vacations, we have plenty of Jose Oquendos, the utility players, and we'll be here throughout the week, of course. Oh, I never got to this. So after Larry is done tonight, 8:00, you do not need to shut off your radio dial. Just keep it rocking and rolling because we have awesome weekend programming. We have and I'm not just saying this. I would say this anyway, but I really mean it. We have the best weekend programming. It's legit shows. It's not infomercial radio. It kicks off with Dr. Randy Tobler on Saturday mornings. You go all the way through the weekend. You finish up with Stand and Fight, with SR1 Sundays, with Nick Schroer, Missouri Freedom Caucus Radio, and so much more. Oh, back to something Bob and I were talking about. Bob Onder was on early in the show. If you ever missed the shows, you can go back and podcast them. Ethan will have the podcast plugged in, ready to rock and roll shortly after the show is over. So Bob was talking about how that we should have done a 7-1 congressional map during the last redistricting. We didn't. The Rhino Republican establishment prevented us from doing so. We didn't have a strong governor to push and promote that, so it didn't happen. But Bob was right, and to prove that he was right, Donald Trump is now saying, do a 7-1 map. The Missouri Freedom Caucus, of which I'm the state director, we issued a big statement today, courtesy of our chairman, Nick Schroer, and said, we are fully behind this. So we need to do a 7-1. You know who wants to do a 7-1 map? No one wants to do a 7-1 map? Well, let's start with Donald Trump. He wants to do a 7-1 map in Missouri. The Missouri Freedom Caucus wants to do a 7-1 map. And I'm hearing, I can't confirm this yet, but I'm hearing that Governor Keogh may want to call a session, a special session, a truly special session, to do a 7-1 map. So there you go. As usual, the Missouri Freedom Caucus is at the tip of the spear on those awesome red Republican red meat issues, and I'm very proud and honored to be their state director. All right. I need to get to the Speaker Stump Speech before I completely run out of time. I told you that I would tell you the 5 big lies of John Brennan that resulted in the original Russian collusion delusion. That is the subject of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
What happened this week? Tulsi Gabbard declassified. This is from the Federalist. Hans Monkey wrote this piece. Tulsi Gabbard declassified a long-buried House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence report exposing the fraud at the heart of the Intelligence Community Assessment. That was the thing that got us down this rabbit hole of Russian collusion delusion. The ICA. You've all forgotten all these acronyms. I have as well. I'm reminding you right now. The Intelligence Community Assessment in January of 2017 launched the Russian collusion delusion, the Russian collusion hoax perpetuated by the Democrats. Folks, I'm telling you, it was entirely fake. It was phony. It was all made up. And we believe that it perhaps went all the way to the top and that Barack Obama may have been one of the operators at the helm. That ICA report was produced by the Deep State Swamp, CIA, FBI, NSA at the time, at the behest. This is why he's involved. They did this because it was at the behest of Barack Obama. It claimed that Vladimir Putin helped Donald Trump win the presidency. It became a weaponized talking point. It cast a shadow over everything Donald Trump did, even before he even took office. The House Permanent Selected Committee launches its investigation into the concocted report later in January of 2017, just days after Trump was sworn in. Devin Nunes thought that something was deeply wrong, and he was right. But the committee's investigation was met with years of stonewalling and obstruction from intelligence agencies. The report just released, dates back to September of 2020, was kept private from the public until now. Why? Because they didn't want it to get out. Now it's seeing the light of day, and it's explosive. The report doesn't just detail flaws in tradecraft or analytical sloppiness. It documents the intentional, this is the point of all this, folks. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't misinformation. It was intentional. An intentional fraud driven by then CIA director, horrific human being, bad hombre, John Brennan, designed to paint Trump as a Russian asset and delegitimize his entire presidency. I don't have time to get into all these points, but I want you to pull up this article and I want you to read it. I'm going to make a few points here, then I'm going to wrap this one up. The ICA's purpose, that original report, it was always political. It was not meant to expose any truths. It wasn't meant to explain anything. It was to trash Donald Trump. Brennan's fabrications within that report. Number one, the single source fragment, a snippet from a lone human intelligence source who made an anti-Trump bias claim that Putin had made this decision, that the Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton was going to be better for him, or was going to be worse for him than Donald Trump. And so he wanted to tarnish Hillary. Tarnish Hillary and uplift Trump. That single source fragment was complete bunk and junk. The anonymous Ukrainian tip, remember that one? That was a complete and utter fabrication. An anonymous email claiming Russia planned engagement with the Trump campaign as far back as February 2016. There's zero evidence the Trump team ever reciprocated or even aware of such plans. Number three, the Putin inner circle fantasy. The claim by Brennan that members of Putin's inner circle preferred Trump. The flimsiest of all. Never been any evidence of that whatsoever. And, of course, the big kahuna, the Steele dossier. Fabricated by Hillary Clinton, promoted by Barack Obama through that ICA report. And now you see how they constructed an entire fake phony narrative, a house of cards. It was a fictional novel, and not even a good one, to try to take down Donald Trump before he even took office. Finally, Federalist says Brennan's most brazen deception was buried in a footnote. According to the report, Devin Nunes's House report, Brennan personally blocked 2 other reports, presumably because they contradicted his narrative, from being formally disseminated. 2 reports that would have completely blown up the entire narrative were blockaded and buried by Brennan himself. John Brennan, at the very least, should be brought before committees, should be referred for criminal for criminal investigations. And if this went all the way to the top, then Barack Obama needs to answer for it as well. The Russian collusion delusion, a hoax from the beginning, a hoax all the way through, and a hoax as we still sit here today. Everything the Democrats say, the opposite is always true. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today. 5:23 in the Heartland. When we come back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL, we're going to speak to my good friend Peter Roff about the Epstein files. True scandal or wild conspiracy theory? Where should we come down on this? We're going to ask Peter Roff next. We're going to talk to him about that and much more when the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show rolls on here on a hot, Freaky Friday. 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Slight chance for an isolated storm this evening, otherwise dry overnight, and First Alert weather days continue for intense heat and humidity over the weekend. Low of 79 Saturday, high of 94, heat index up to 100 to 105. There's a 30% chance for a shower storm in the afternoon to early evening. Could be a quick heavy downpour too. Sunday, a 20% chance for a heavy thunderstorm, otherwise another hot day, a high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Temple.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.
JC's Wayback Machine, because man does not live by news talk alone.
This is Francesca. My dad still has laryngitis, but he wanted me to tell you about this week's show, like a new feature called Back in the Day, where we pull a classic bit from the archives, plus great album tracks from the 90s, 80s, and 70s, and this week's A-list interview with Super Dave, presented by the Weber Automotive Group. Dad, how much do I get for this again?
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9 on News Talk STL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Bang my head against the wall. Try to find my stride, but I trip and I fall.
There was a lot of talk, rhetoric, that there was an internal desire to overthrow him around that time, because you could see on TV he was struggling in the polls and Donald Trump was reveling in it. And then I heard this narrative coming up that, Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party were having private conversations and telling him to step down and forcing him out.
Yeah.
All cards on the table, 100% truth. Is there any truth in that?
Yeah. No, a lot of that was happening. I mean, a lot of people were, there was a phone tree that lit up that night. There was a text tree, phone tree, email, just blew up.
Saying
people were in panic, total full-fledged panic.
Holy smokes. Greasy Gavin Newsom there admitting a lot of crazy things that I wonder if he'll get picked apart on by his Democratic friends. Admitting basically that, there was absolutely a soft coup to overthrow Joe Biden and defy the will of the people who had already voted for him to run for a re-election and to basically install Kamala Harris, and that he was fully and intimately involved with it. It seems like there's nothing but scandals these days that we're having to deal with. And to talk about another one of those scandals is my good friend Peter Roff, who writes for Newsweek and a host of other fantastic publications all across the land. He is at the Roff Report on Twitter X. Peter, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us once again at News Talk STL.
It's good to be here, but it's the Roff Draft.
The Roff Draft. I'm sorry, the Roff Draft. ROFF. The Roff Draft.
For which we have to thank my daughter and our mutual friend Miriam.
She's an awesome human being.
That.
Yes. And she's given you lots of wonderful grandchildren, I understand.
And a graduate of St. Louis University.
Indeedy. At the Roff Draft on Twitter X.
Yep.
Peter, you have a new piece out this week called The Epstein Files, True Scandal or Wild Conspiracy Theory. What's the import of that? And where did you take where do you want the readers to go throughout this piece?
Well, I want the readers, frankly, to to check themselves, and it's very important that they do this. Right now, the scandal is being driven by people who think that there's something that will drive Donald Trump from the presidency if it were only revealed. Now, 12 years ago, there were people who were animated by the Epstein issue because they were sure that there was something in the documents that would keep Hillary Clinton from being elected president if only it were revealed. This is a 20-year-old story that should have died with Epstein, but it's being kept alive by people who don't care about the victims, who don't care about laws that were broken, but who only care about doing political damage to the other party.
Now, yeah, Peter, I definitely hear what you're saying. It's like everyone thinks there's all these revelations, but with the power that some folks have, some of the operatives have, you wonder if after 20 years, why hasn't any of it leaked either against Trump or against Clinton or against anyone, right? I think that's kind of the question we have to ask ourselves, right?
This is the point that I made in one of the points that I made in the Newsweek story that you are kind enough to draw attention to. If there were actually pictures or testimony of Donald Trump committing a criminal act with an underage person, why would they have made up Russiagate?
Right.
You know, we got this thinly sourced dossier that we've got. No, we got pictures of Trump with a 14-year-old girl. No, we can't use those. We have to use the made up one.
Right. Yes.
It just defies belief.
It really does.
You know, and you know, some of this is just sloppiness. You know, I am sure that when Attorney General Pam Bondi said she really wasn't paying attention to the question she was being asked. You know, she's like, files. It's all on my desk. It's all on my desk. Not, you know, do you have Epstein's client book? And suddenly Epstein's client book has been shredded. I don't think there is an Epstein, a little black book that Hitchcock would use as a MacGuffin in a movie. The thing that drives the story but isn't really important. It doesn't exist.
Right.
If it did, we'd have copies of it now.
Exactly. Peter, like you, I'm not losing a lot of sleep over this because ultimately it doesn't affect the price of bread at the store or my 401k. It doesn't affect how safe and secure I feel in my community. But Peter, they do have a mess on their hands, right? And I agree with you. Pam Bondi, her messaging on this from the outset was kind of a mess. What should they do at this point? How do they move back to things that are affecting everyday average Americans every single day where they live?
They're in a box and they're going to have to ride it out. They are in a position now where the Justice Department has to go talk to just Ghislaine Maxwell, and the Deputy Attorney General is doing that. And now she's been given limited immunity. So, she isn't going to incriminate herself any more deeply than she's already buried. So they're going to have to give her something to get her to talk. And if she talks and they come up with stuff and they reduce her sentence or something, they made a deal that, she's keeping her mouth shut about Trump in exchange for getting her sentence shortened. And if they don't get anything out of her, it's because they threatened her and intimidated her. They've allowed themselves to be maneuvered into a box. And they need to spend the month of August, in fact, talking about how expensive eggs were under Joe Biden and how less expensive they are now, and how much safer the world and how far inflation has come down and the strength of the economy, which is only going to be stronger because they passed the one beautiful bill. And they have to talk about things like Joe Biden just got $10 million for his memoirs. Now, I don't, 4 years that he can't remember that the rest of us would like to forget. On sale next year at Barnes & Noble for $40 a copy.
Yeah, Peter, and isn't that one of the biggest scandals, speaking of scandals, actual scandals, that the Democrats are so desperately trying to move on from, but they're asking Americans to forget the last 4 years of our lives, right? Where we basically
forget all about Biden. He has. So you should forget about it too. But the way that they covered this up, I mean, you and I are old enough, not all your listeners are, but you and I are old enough to remember the Reagan presidency.
Yes.
And the constant insinuations that because Reagan was 70, he was obviously senile.
Mm-hmm.
And how it just perpetuated, well, he's old. Well, he was still younger than Biden was when Biden got elected, when he left office. And to accuse Biden of a decline in his mental acuity was treated like treason.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Particularly if you're a Democrat. We cannot continue to be a free country if we can't have the conversation about whether or not the president is losing his marbles. Because you then end up with the White House being run by people who weren't elected to run it.
That's exactly right. Yes.
And that's dangerous. And I don't care if we're talking about Biden or Trump or Reagan or Franklin Roosevelt or Woodrow Wilson. The democratic process ceases to function when the operatives take over for the elected officials. And we ought to have hearings, and people ought to be compelled to tell what they know, because this matters. This matters. Epstein matters to the women who were victimized, and nobody cares about them.
Mm.
Nobody who is pushing this scandal forward cares about the women who were hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They're just props being used for political advantage. Okay, the Epstein scandal doesn't matter. But this, Mr. President, the Russians have moved tanks into the Baltics. What do? Huh?
Right.
The who? I'm sorry, you're going to have to talk to him 12 hours from now when his sunsetting is over.
That's exactly.
This is why there's that provision that they talked about invoking on Trump after he lost the election, where the cabinet can get together and say, President's lost his marbles. We're voting him out of power right now. We can't vote him out of the presidency, but we can take away his power and give it to the vice president. And, the president then has to certify that he can reclaim the job. That's in there. And they urged the cabinet under Trump at the end to do that so that Trump didn't get us into a nuclear war with China. This is another thing that matters that we never investigated. The phone calls between the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, and Nancy Pelosi about the security of the nuclear chain of command, in which the Speaker of the House plays no role, legally or constitutionally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's then also calling his opposite number in China to say, we're not launching a first strike, don't worry. That's insurrection. That's insubordination. That matters. And that ought to have been looked at. But that all got pushed under the rug because it makes Democrats look bad.
Yeah, the shadow presidency of Joe Biden. We're speaking to Peter Roff, Newsweek contributing editor, columnist, writes for a lot of other awesome publications as well. You can find everything he is prognosticating about on Twitter X at the Roff Draft, ROFF. Peter, what do we do with the revelations that Tulsi Gabbard laid bare this week? And where do we go from here on that?
Again, something that Congress ought to, in a bipartisan manner, investigate. Now, clearly, President Obama is in no legal jeopardy here because of what I think was the rightly decided Supreme Court decision involving Trump and immunity regarding official acts. But we ought to be looking more closely at what Comey and Brennan and the other sachems of the intelligence and law enforcement community did to perpetuate a political smear and turn it into a scandal that threatened the presidency. Because that's unacceptable. And it would, remember, one of the things that they went after Richard Nixon for was trying to use the CIA to get the FBI to stop investigating the Watergate break-in and all of the things that flowed from that investigation on the grounds of national security, and it would stir up the whole Bay of Pigs thing, which some people think is code for the Kennedy assassination. The conspiracy-minded people think that's code for the Kennedy assassination. But we looked into all of that, and we had reforms, and now we want to pretend that it didn't happen, like we want to pretend that 51 former senior intelligence officials didn't sign on to a letter organized by the Biden campaign that said Hunter's laptop had all the hallmarks, and that's an important word, hallmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign, because that's really an opinion. It's not an assessment, but it's an assessment shared by 51 people who are in the business of making assessments about intelligence. And we now know that that was Hunter's laptop, and we presume that everything that they pulled off, it was genuine, that nobody had an opportunity to go in and plant things on it. And the role that they played in trying to subvert the democratic process, that's an insurrection.
Yes.
Indeed. What happened on January 6th was a political march that got way out of hand and carried on, thanks in part to the reaction of the police, had all of the hallmarks of a riot. But when the intelligence community is throwing its weight behind a political smear that rises to the level of an independent counsel investigation, that's an insurrection. And that's something we ought to be taking a look at.
Indeed. Peter, got time for one more topic. I want to ask you, what do you think about the first 6 months of the Trump 2.0 presidency? And what do you think Congress should, I'm not sure what they will do, what should they tackle when they return from recess?
Okay, well, the first 6 months of the Trump presidency is going much better than I expected it would. I am not a never Trumper, but I never exactly climbed on the bandwagon either. I mean, part of it is because as a political journalist, my job is to call balls and strikes.
Sure.
And part of it is because his brand of conservatism is different from my brand of conservatism. But I'm very impressed with a lot of the things that they have managed to do. I'm particularly surprised at the impact of the tariffs, that they apparently have not been inflationary and that they did cause other countries to come to the table and negotiate. But when Congress comes back, they need to go to work on reconciliation too. And the three things I think they need to do more than anything else are take the corporate rate to 15%, zero out the death tax forever. All that money's already been taxed at least once. The person who held it is dead. Leave them alone. And the third thing is to basically index capital gains retroactively so that people don't have to capital gains on the inflation of their capital, like their house. You know, your house may have doubled in price because of inflation. Thank you, Joe Biden.
Yes,
but but how much cheaper are those dollars?
Exactly.
They're a lot cheaper. And you shouldn't have to pay tax on that. You should only have to pay capital gains tax on the real gain, which is in what do they call them? Constant dollars. It's the real gain. So those are the three things I would do, because that would turn America into the world's engine of prosperity. If we had a 15% corporate rate, companies would be coming here in droves to build their plants because they pay the tax at our rate here rather than the tax at the rate back home.
Exactly.
They'd be coming here in droves. And we are on the cusp of the greatest intergenerational wealth transfer in human history. And Uncle Sam is sitting off to his side, rubbing his hands greedily, thinking about what part of that he's going to get. And he shouldn't get any of it.
Amen, indeed. Peter, it's always great to speak with you. We always cover a lot of ground. I want our listeners to check you out online at the Roff Draft on Twitter X. A lot of great content, news, and analysis on that as well. Peter, thanks so much. Have a great weekend, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tim. Good to talk to you. Bye-bye.
You as well. The Roff Draft, ROFF. Newsweek contributing editor, columnist, and global TV commentator, podcast participant. And then he says, in his quote, little right here, I'm a desert topping and a floor wax. That's funny. That's right. Roff. There he is indeed. 5:44 in the PM, last segment of the last show of the week. But don't worry, we'll be back Monday, as we always are. In the next segment, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Larry Connors USA. He's coming up next. And I didn't have time. I've been just chatterboxing away here. I'm going to get to some of the latest polling on Donald Trump, right track, wrong track of the company, and of the country, not the company. And Joey's not here, but I'm going to take a look at what movies might be coming up in the near future that you might want to check out. I think we still have a couple summer blockbusters to go. All of that is up next after this quick, short, really fast break. Be back here. Don't go anywhere. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Slight chance for an isolated storm this evening, otherwise dry overnight, and First Alert weather days continue for intense heat and humidity over the weekend. Low of 79 Saturday, high of 94, heat index up to 100 to 105. There's a 30% chance for a shower storm in the afternoon to early evening. Could be a quick heavy downpour too. Sunday, a 20% chance for a heavy thunderstorm, otherwise another hot day, a high of 94, heat index 100 to 105. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Borselli Show.
Here's an interesting quote. Why activist shareholders are essential, not improper. We'll talk to Stefan Padfield from the National Center for Public Policy Research Monday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. Until I called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Bottom line is we are prioritizing criminal threats and public safety threats and national security threats. We had an agreement to get into Rikers Island, and Mayor Adams, signed an executive order to get into Rikers Island. Of course, the governor came down, totally against it. City council sued and kept us out of there. We're on our way to some collaboration on criminals in Rikers Island, but that was shut down. But they keep pushing this issue. They're helping us. No, they're not. New York City, matter of fact, the two men who were involved with shooting the off-duty CBP officer, they both are released from NYPD precincts many times, several times. So, and look, in New York, NYPD wants to help us. The officers on the ground want to help us, but it's a sanctuary city that was created by Bill Blasio and supported by the city council that has shut us out. Letitia James is wrong. New York is not helping us with criminals.
Let me just say, if you're a first responder, thank you very much for what you do. And a lot of people don't know this. I actually was a first responder in New York, in the Bronx, while I was in college. And it was legit. It wasn't just like a college club. I was a New York State certified emergency medical technician. I went through all the classes and I became certified, and I helped run the ambulance team at Fordham University. We had a real live ambulance and the whole thing. Now they've expanded even greater. Like we had one of the van ambulances. Like a lot of times you see Abbott running around here, in our Midwest area, in the heartland here. The Abbott ambulance. That's what I always think of when I think of the little van ambulances. So we had one of those, but it was a Fordham University EMS. And I was an EMT, and I did it I was certified for 6 years. I did all 4 years of college, and then the certification lasted. I actually used it back here at home because I had to be EMT certified when I worked at the Girl Scout camp. Yes, I worked at a Girl Scout camp. No, I'm not on any wanted list. My dad got me the job there during summer between college and law school. They needed somebody to help at the health center. I think I've told this story before, haven't I? I was between college and law school, and my folks really wanted me to come home, which I was happy to do that before I went back up to the East Coast to go to St. John's for law school. And my dad said, hey, I've got this connection. There's this nurse, and you'll work under her at this camp. I'm like, oh, I used to love to camp. I was a Boy Scout. That sounds cool. I'll go do the camping thing. And they're like, yeah, you get room and board, and we're going to pay you. And you get to be in air conditioning during the day because they've got the health lodge. I'm like, sounds wonderful. And so I went down to Peevely, Missouri to Camp Cedar Ledge. And I show up at the camp. And it was the pre-camp, right? The week before, we're getting everything ready. And this was the summer of 93. You know what happened later in 93? Remember what happened in later 93 for those who remember? Yeah. The high and the mighty flood of 93. And there's another story about that. So I go into the camp, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, where's Nurse What's-Her-Face, And the reason I can't remember her name is because I never met her because she wasn't there. And they're like, well, the nurse is not going to be here. And I said, oh, well, what happened? They're like, oh, she got a great new promotion at the hospital down the road. I'm like, oh, great for her. So who am I working under? I'm still thinking I'm assisting somebody, right? Because I'm at a Girl Scout camp. What do I know about 7, 8, 9, 10, 12? I had a sister. That was about it, right? And so they look at me and they're like, we didn't have time to find him. You're going to run the health lodge. The color probably drained out of my face. I'm a 21. I guess I was 21 at the time, 22-year-old dude who's thinking he's going to just swim and party through the summertime as much as you party at a Girl or Boy Scout camp. And I was going to work under Nurse so-and-so and do whatever. No, I'm going to run the health lodge. And I was like, what? It turned out to be awesome. Shortly thereafter, they did give me an assistant. I still remember her, Tammy. She was awesome. She was such a pleasant young lady. She was pre-med at Mizzou. So I had an EMT certification, and she was pre-med and was going to go to medical school. I lost track of her. I hope she has become a famous neurosurgeon. And then about halfway through the summer, I got some real help. They brought in a husband-wife paramedic team. And so then we were kicking ass, and I was like, running everything. And we actually had a few serious injuries. We had one of the young ladies fall off a horse. I think we had a broken arm that was maybe separate from that. We had, the bee stings and the wasp stings. And what I remember was the main thing we had to do was all the counselors would bring in their girls every day, and they'd sit them all down on these benches, and I'd have to dispense their medication. We had to keep track of all the medication. Everybody was on Ritalin back then. I hope that's not a thing anymore. I was like, what is all this Ritalin? And there was other stuff, there was asthma treatments and things like that. And so we had this one poor girl had this horrible asthma attack. Long story short, because I think I've told this story before, haven't I? I met My wife at the Girl Scout camp. No, she wasn't one of the little girls. Suzanne was a senior counselor. She was in college, so I just graduated from college. She was a rising junior, and she was one of the counselors for the senior girls. And we at first didn't like each other. We fought like cats and dogs. Maybe that was, maybe there was a sign there of the deep romance. And anyway, we hit it off. We become friends. And then we went back to our respective places. She went back to William and Mary in Virginia. I went back to New York, and we were pen pals. Did you know we used to write letters to each other, all you younger people? Ethan, did you know that? We used to write letters back in the day. We would literally sit down and write something on paper, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and send it to each other. That was email.
I've done it 0 times in my life.
Yeah, that's what we used to do.
That's crazy.
And you used to wait by the mailbox, for somebody to send you a letter. Now it's instantaneous.
I kind of wish we could go back. I feel like I missed out on something.
Maybe the feather pens,
There you go. Yeah.
Due to the honorable so-and-so. Yes. But I probably have those letters somewhere. So Suzanne and I then, many years later, we both ended up back in St. Louis, and we reconnected, and the rest is history, as they say. And we have 2 wonderful daughters, and so on and so forth. So anyway, I have no idea why did I tell that story?
I learned something.
Yeah. You learned all about me and being an EMT and all that. Oh, I was thanking first responders because we played the clip from Tom Homan. So all you first responders out there, I do know what you'd go through because I walked in your shoes back in the day. And I was in some weird, you can imagine, I was in some weird situations every once in a while in the Bronx because we didn't respond only just to stuff on campus. We also helped around the campus. They had this system that New York was ahead of the curve on some of this stuff. The Mutual Aid Response System, the MARS system. And it was a mutual aid system. And so we would respond to other things around that. Yeah, all you first responders, be careful this weekend. I know you're going to be out in the heat and the humidity. Take care of yourselves so you can take care of others. And here's the last thing I'll leave you with. I did a speaker stump speech on this subject a few days or a few weeks ago, where I talked about the things Democrats are doing, perpetuating and propagating. The national Democrats, the DC Democrats, the elites, the wealthy, evil elites who now run the Democratic Party, you really are horrific people. Because the things that Donald Trump is trying to do, you stand against them, and you're on the wrong side of history. And I'll give you some examples. Tom Homan and Donald Trump are trying to clean up the people who are violating the law by being in this country. And not only by just violating by being here, they're trying to clean up the criminal, illegal aliens. So all you Democrats, you support that. You support criminal, illegal aliens who are harassing, assaulting, raping, murdering, and pillaging across this country. You support that because you won't support Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who passed the one big, beautiful bill, tax cuts for all Americans, more money in their pocket. You don't support that either. You support taking more money away from people, wasting it on your stupid government projects that help no one ever. Your ridiculous war on poverty has been an absolute failure. So you support taking money away from Americans, punishing them and hurting them so they can't support their families. You support that too. What else do you support? Let's see. Donald Trump is trying to effectuate peace in the Middle East and end wars. You Democrats, you support the propagation of war. You support war and the industrial defense complex over peace because you'd rather grift and graft your way and fill your pockets with gold coins and cash instead of ending all these conflicts around the planet. So Republicans are trying to make everything safe, secure, wealthy, and prosperous again, and Democrats do the opposite because that's what they always do. I'll leave you with that happy news. I'm going to head to the St. Louis Young Republicans Trivia Night. You all have a wonderful, fantastic, safe, and cool weekend. If I can quickly pull it up here, I'm going to tell you what Larry Connors has coming up next, and I've got it right here. Yeah, I can do it really quickly. What needs to be done with our intel agencies? Oh, baby. Teachers' unions ignore the Holocaust, and a special note about Hulk Hogan. That's right, brother, that you might not know. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show back on Monday, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure Full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the All-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Hats off to family fun on Sunday, July 27th, when the Birds host the Padres. That day, 20,000 fans, 16 and older, will get a City Connect throw pad courtesy of Quick Trip. And thanks to Haichu, 10,000